Hey girlie, tell me if this thought is concerning.
Yeah, sure. Let's hope it actually makes sense this time.
Hey, that's rude. But okay, listen to this. When dogs see police dogs, do they react the same way we do when we see police? Okay, fine. One more. If we wait for the waiter, aren't we the waiter?
Wait, what? Bro, stop traumatizing me.
Oh my god, did I say something wrong? I'm sorry if I messed up or something.
What? No, no, you didn't. It's just these thoughts are making me think way too hard.
Then why would you tell me you're traumatized? You just used a heavy word so lightly.
Um, okay, smart one. Tell me what even is traumatized.
I sure will. Gosh, these psychological terms are nowadays taken so lightly.
Anyways, in this episode, we'll be talking about some psychological theories and dark side of psychology.
Hello, I'm Vaishnavi,
And I'm Radhika.
and you're listening to Solving for X.
Here we are going to unlock the mystery of the dark theme of your body, the so called brain.
As we were talking, trauma is like a deeply upsetting or shocking experience that has a lasting negative effect on your mind and emotions. It's more than just a bad memory, it can change how you see yourself, others, and the world.
People linked to social media by any means might know the term childhood trauma. That does not mean the child got scolded in its childhood. Childhood trauma is when a child experiences something deeply scary, harmful, or very upsetting that has a lasting negative impact on them.
Imagine a young child who witnesses a serious car accident where a loved one is severely injured. This event could be traumatic for him or her because it is sudden, frightening, and involves potential loss and danger. Afterwards, he or she might have nightmares about the accident, become very clingy or anxious, or startle easily at loud noises.
These reactions can last for a long time and significantly affect their well being. In this case, the event is not just a typical childhood upset, it's a deeply distressing experience that overwhelms the child's ability to cope and can have some lasting negative effects on their emotional and mental well being.
Now that you got what a trauma is, let me tell you about some mind blowing theories and experiments. Imagine this scenario: you are in a classroom with 99 other students. The teacher asks you all a question, and 90 of them answer wrong. The rest of you know the right answer but are not sure of it. What would you do?
Well, first of all, a moment of appreciation for you considering me one of the intelligent people who might know the right answer, especially when 90 others are failing. But honestly, my brain would whisper, just nod along with the majority. Less awkward. So I would likely either stay silent or join the 90.
This is exactly what Ash conformity experiments say. This classic experiment in the 1950s demonstrated how individuals often go along with the majority opinion, even when that opinion is clearly wrong. In these studies, participants were asked to judge the length of lines. When a group of confederates, that is, actors working with the experimenter, all gave the same but incorrect answer, a significant number of participants would also give the wrong answer, seemingly to fit in the group.
So basically, our brains are like better to be wrong with the cool kids than right all by your lonesome. That's slightly depressing but also hilariously relatable. Speaking of hurts, I have heard of something called the bystander effect. Is that when everyone just stares like a bunch of confused cows?
Pretty much. The bystander effect is when a bunch of people are around during an emergency and everyone's thinking someone else will handle it. So nobody does. Imagine someone dramatically fainting on the street, and instead of a superhero rushing in, you get a bunch of people awkwardly filming on their phones, thinking, well, there are like five other people here. One of them will call the ambulance. Spoiler alert, sometimes nobody does.
Oh, that's extremely horrible. The idea that in a moment of critical need, the very presence of others could lead to inaction. Now, shifting gears again, there's another term I have heard floating around, often in online discussions, the Mandela Effect. Does that also fall under the umbrella of psychology?
The Mandela effect itself isn't a recognized formal theory within the mainstream psychology. Instead, it's a term coined to describe a specific phenomenon, a shared false memory among a large group of people. However, the study and explanation of the Mandela effect absolutely falls under the umbrella of psychology, specifically within the areas of memory and cognition.
The term Mandela Effect was coined by Fiona Broom, a paranormal researcher, in the late 2000s. She discovered that she, along with many others, had a vivid memory of Nelson Mandela, the former South African president and anti-apartheid revolutionary, dying in prison during 1980s. However, Nelson Mandela was released from prison in 1990 and lived until 2013. The shock of discovering this discrepancy and the shared false memory among many led to the naming of this phenomena.
The Mandela effect is essentially a striking example of how fallible and reconstructive human memory can be. In some cases, individuals might genuinely fill in the gaps of their memory with false details without intending to deceive. This psychological process, called confabulation, can contribute to the vividness and conviction with which people hold these incorrect memories. Social interaction and the spread of misinformation can play a significant role. If one person confidently misremembers something and shares it, others might adopt the false memory, especially if it feels familiar.
There is another experiment called Milgram's experiment. The Milgram obedience experiment explored how far individuals would go in obeying an authority, even when instructed to do something conflicted with their conscience.
In this experiment, participants were told to administer electric shocks to a learner who was actually an actor for incorrect answers. The experimenter's commands to continue, despite the learner's apparent pain, led to a surprisingly high number of participants to administer what they believed were dangerous shocks.
Wait, so these participants, who were just ordinary people, were willing to inflict what they believed to be potentially dangerous electric shocks on another person simply because someone in a position of authority told them to? Where did their own sense of right and wrong go? Did they just leave their brains at home that day?
You have nailed the truly disturbing part, Radhika. Even with the screams and the pleas, many people just kept going because someone in a position of authority told them to. It wasn't about them being inherently evil, it was more about how powerful the urge to obey can be, sometimes overpowering our own sense of right and wrong and our empathy for others. And do you know what we call it when someone makes you do something against your will?
What if I told you your thoughts, your choices, even your beliefs might not entirely be your own?
That somewhere someone could subtly influencing you without you even realizing it.
Today, we are stepping into a darker side of human behavior. This is dark psychology, the hidden technique used to manipulate, control, and deceive.
Okay, Radhika, I've got to ask. When we say dark psychology, are we just talking like criminals and serial killers? Or is it something like actually happens in normal life?
It's not just about extreme cases. Dark psychology includes everyday manipulative behavior too, like gaslighting, guilt tripping, or using charm to get control over someone. It's all about using psychological tactics to influence others, usually for selfish or harmful reasons.
Okay. So, is there a proper theory behind all this? Like, how do psychologists actually study these darker sides of behavior?
Yes, there's a big one called the dark triad theory. It focuses on three personality traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Narcissists are all about themselves. They crave attention. Machiavellian types are the master of manipulators. They lie, use charm, and then scheme. And the psychopaths, they lack empathy, that can be very impulsive, and they often don't feel guilt.
It's not just in everyday life though. These traits can sometimes be seen in more extreme cases, like criminal. Think of someone like Ted Bundy. His charm and ability to manipulate people into trusting him despite his brutal actions fits perfectly with the traits we have been talking about.
Yeah, Bundy was a classic example of psychopath. He was so good at using charm and appearing completely normal, even though he was hiding the most horrific actions. His ability to manipulate people and have them believe that he was harmless is a chilling example of dark psychology.
Another that comes to my mind is Charles Manson. He didn't physically commit the murders himself, but was a master manipulator. He used his power over vulnerable followers, convincing them to commit violent crimes in his name. It shows how someone can use psychological influence for personal gain and harm.
Manson's manipulation was so intense that it almost felt like a mind control. He didn't just tell people to follow him, he made them believe that killing others was a part of higher purpose. That is an extreme case of how dark psychology can completely wrap someone's perception of reality.
Exactly. And even though these cases are extreme, it's important to remember that these same tactics, manipulation, gaslighting, creating dependency, are used in everyday situations, just not always in the same degree.
It is a reminder of how dangerous these behaviors can be. No matter the scale, people might not always see the warning signs until it's too late. So, now let's dive deep into this topic, where we will be giving you the steps to influence someone's mind, not to teach how to do it, but to understand it and resist it.
This is a powerful and sensitive topic, so it's important to approach it carefully. Charm, silence, guilt, lie, blackmail form the foundation of dark psychology.
First, build trust through charm. They start by making you feel seen, special, or admired. Charm is used to lower your guard.
Isolate your target. This doesn't always mean physically, it can be emotional. They make you feel like they are the only one who understands you, creating dependency.
Third, create self doubt through guilt or lies. They will twist the facts, deny things they said, or blame you. So you begin to doubt your own memory, your own judgment, or even your own worth.
Use the silent treatment or emotional withdrawal. When you resist or question them, they back off emotionally. Silence becomes punishment. You start chasing for their approval.
Trigger fear or guilt. If you leave me, you will regret it. After everything I have done for you, these are emotional threats that corner you into submission.
Gaining control over your choices. At this stage, they're not just influencing your mood, they're steering your decisions, beliefs, and even your identity. You might not even notice it.
So, if you recognize these signs, pause. Talk to someone you trust. No one should have that kind of power over your mind.
Exactly. Understanding these steps doesn't mean you're going to use them. It means learning how to protect yourself and communicate ethically. And that wraps up today. And that wraps up today's episode of Solving for X. We have certainly covered some thought provoking and at times unsettling ground today, delving into complexities of trauma, the power of conformity, the bystander effect, the quirk of memory with the Mandela effect, the chilling depths of obedience, and the deep, dark tactics.
We hope this discussion gave you some insights into these hidden tactics and how important it is to recognize them. If you have enjoyed the episode, don't forget to follow us and share with your friends. Thank you so much for listening, and we will be back next time with more intriguing topics. Until then, keep solving for X, always question, always learn.